Hey guys, I know I don't go over patch notes super often, but whenever something is pretty juicy, I do like to cover it. And this update coming to Forerunner in about a day, probably coming to global in about a month or so, has a bunch of juicy stuff. From the Elder buff, confirmed with how it is getting buffed, Ares changes, as well as a couple other things. We have Malrik halls time saving features, which has been added, and a couple different changes. We also have Cataclysm buff and other things such as Gear Dungeon changes, some guild boss stuff, whatever. We're gonna go over it. It's not gonna be the longest video, but it is still interesting enough to where I want to cover it. So we'll see what happens. Make sure to like and subscribe before we get into it. And without further ado, Elder buff. So Elder buff, what is the issue with Elder now, and what needs to be fixed? Well, Elddr doesn't do a lot of damage, is part of one of the worst factions in the game, if not the worst, and that's kind of it. I mean, he only has one range, he has a bunch of issues, and he's just not very good, okay? But we have Elddr changes. So what did they do? Well, I'm going to swap back and forth between his kit currently and the patch notes being added here, and we're going to go over how this changes. So the biggest changes that they're doing is Elddr is actually going to no longer be a single target fighter. He's going to be an AoE fighter, which is really weird. I'm not sure if I like it or not. I think maybe they're trying to make him more of like a Malrik Trials fighter, or maybe a, GVG viable thing instead of used for bosses like Abyss and Guild Boss 2. I'm sure he'll still do something, but that's what they seem to be doing. As you can see, if we go down to this physical attack, we have 120% damage to 5 enemies instead. So that is the big change that's being added to Elddr. And he's also getting 2 tile range instead of 1 tile, which is a big change. While Elddr is very tanky, 2 tile range is so important for fighters because it allows you to put them behind a tank. Because for most content in the game, when you get to late game, you have to have a tank covering your grounds, or you essentially lose. Then we have initial attack speed is changed to 3.5 seconds. I think this is actually a nerf. This is less frequent attacking, but he is hitting a bunch of enemies, so I guess it evens out. We also have the same deployment cost. Elddr, obviously, still North Throne Lord, still a fighter. Now, let's go over some of the kit things. So first of all, the talent, when the hero has a shield, dealing damage grants extra damage equal to 30% of current shield strength. The wording's a bit different, but you can see that it is the exact same as it currently is. When shielded, does 30% of the shield as extra damage. It's what we can expect. Now, Thunder Incarnation, the ultimate, as far as I can see, does not change that much. 50% attack increase, Thunder Aegis, and allies of the same faction on the battlefield, aka Northerners, temporarily gain Elddr's talent, and the ultimate lasts for 20 seconds. If we go back to the Elddr, we can see that it is the same. Grants allies of the same faction, does about 50% attack, and that's kind of how it goes. So one thing weird is they actually got rid of, as far as I can tell, the increase HP. So this is actually a nerf as well, which is kind of weird. Next we get Thunder Aegis, grants a shield equal to 20% of the hero's attack per second, up to a maximum shield equal to 200% attack. Going over here, once again, Thunder Aegis grants a shield equal to 10% max HP per second, stacking up to 100% max HP. This has changed quite drastically. So instead of it scaling off of HP, first of all, it is scaling off of attack. So now, because Elddr no longer needs to tank, because you can go behind a tank, you're going to be able to use him more as a DPS, and they're really reinforcing that. You want to build him with full attack, because it gives him extra shield, and it's 200% attack instead of something like 100% of HP, which is interesting. I think that might lead him to doing a lot more damage, but definitely will remove some tanking capabilities. Next we get to the basic attack, has a 20% chance to trigger Thunder Hammer, dealing an extra 250% damage. This is equal for current version and updated version. If the hero has no shield, triggering Thunder Hammer has a 40% chance to gain a shield equal to 50% attack for 10 seconds. So not only is it scaling off of attack, this is a new ability. This has never been on Elddr before. So if he doesn't have a shield, he gains a shield. And if we go over here to Storm of Retribution, basic attack has a 20% chance to trigger Thunder Hammer, dealing 250% extra damage. That's how it always has been. But now, the new version, it's going to give him more shields because it has a chance to give a shield if he doesn't have one already, which is really, really good because that increases his damage a lot. And because they're trying to trick you into, not tricking, but they're trying to guide you towards building him more offensively, he's going to get a ton of value from that ability too, which is a good change. Now, moving on, we have Thunder Protection. When taking damage, grants a shield equal to 60% max HP and damage increase 30% for 10 seconds. Can be triggered up to 1 time every 35 seconds. Well, how has this changed? Well, if we go over to Thunder Protection, when taking damage, grants a shield equal to 50% max HP, increases damage by 30%, and lasts for 10 seconds, can only be triggered every 35 seconds. Which, to my knowledge, 60% shield strength, to my knowledge is exactly the same. That's all of the normal kit changes. So really, it's just, hey, it scales differently off of attack instead of HP. He has 2 tile range. He's also AoE instead of single target, which is kind of interesting. And then we have some changes like granting his own shield more frequently and things along those lines. It's really not that big of a buff. I don't think it's enough, but then again, someone will have to test it when it comes out, which most likely will be something I should do, and we'll have to see if it's actually impactful. But what is actually impactful is the A1 currently on current Elddr. By the way, I have the A1, so this is relevant for me. It might not be relevant for everyone, but the A1 currently is when not shielded, gains a shield equal to 20% max HP upon triggering Thunder Hammer. You want to know where this is now? It's in the kit. On the new version, this is literally just built into the kit. So obviously they have to make a different awakening, which they did. So A1 during the ultimate, allied heroes within 1 tile also gain half of the Thunder Aegis effect. Thunder Aegis grants shield equal to the hero's attack per second up to a maximum of 200% attack. So this is going to be great for heroes like Falsha, which is going to start getting the shield from Elddr as well, more frequently. It's not the craziest awakening, but it is definitely an improvement. We're also getting during the ultimate, Thunder Hammer trigger chance increases by 40%. This is actually a big buff because the old version only increased it by 20%. This is going to be double. So instead of it being 20% on basic, it's going to be 40% extra, which is about 60% on basic, which is pretty good. And then the A5 is exactly the same. Extra damage equal to 30% of current shield strength, which is kind of irrelevant. So do I think it's enough? I think on paper it's not, but then again, we'll have to see, because this is a full revamp of how he works. 2 tile range, AoE, a couple changes. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not the most confident considering Elddr is hot garbage right now, but I'm willing to see where this goes. Next we get to Ares, and Ares, my bad, is going to get some changes as well. So first of all, the biggest issue with Ares for most content is the cost. The cost is too high. 26, one of the highest costs in the game, and they're lowering it to 22, which is a big deal. Then the talent is additionally going to put out 10% magic vulnerability on enemies for 3 seconds. If we go over to Ares, if I can remember which faction he's a part of, I think he's over here, yep. We're going to get Mighty Thrust, which is going to just straight up put out magic vulnerability as well, which is going to make him a lot better in areas like GVG if you're going to use him. It's just extra damage, right? If you don't have a magic vulnerability unit on your team, this is going to be a good change. Next, we're getting some awakening changes. The A1 deployment cost goes -2, which makes it so that it is 20 cost, and also the 1 extra range, which is already on his A1. This is going to remove the damage reduction. Now, I will say that damage reduction barely did anything, and I basically never noticed it actually be useful, but it's weird that they would just remove it in favor of deployment cost. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but that is what they did. Next, we get to the A3 additional effect. During the ultimate, Unrelenting Will trigger interval is reduced by an additional 1 second. Going over to the A3, during the ultimate Mighty Thrust deals an extra 100% damage one time. So instead of doing that, the trigger interval is changed. Then we get to the A5, which is Mighty Thrust and Destiny's Decree. Ignore target magic resistance ratio, increased from 20% to 25%, which is undeniably a buff. It's just more damage. You go through more defense. A-Risk buff, I think that the base stuff is really good, but I don't think I'm the biggest fan of removing the A1, the A3, which are already pretty solid. Because, I mean, we're already getting less cost. Why would you remove the damage reduction in favor for less cost? Right? It's kind of silly. And then, I don't really like the less damage there, but that's just me. Those are the changes for those. We're also getting a Lysia change where an issue has been fixed. Skyward Sovereign's ultimate Thunderbind would occasionally cause lightning orb bounces to deal damage to herself. Rygar is getting some changes with incorrect skill descriptions. Instead of it being what it says, which is 5% defense penetration, it's actually 10%. And then fixed an issue where he had unstable damage output in rare cases. And then we get to the things I'm the most excited for. Now, I don't think this is going to be as far as they should take it. I think they need to take it a bit further. But I think this is a great step in the right direction. Malrik calls, the biggest issue with those is they take forever. I mean, we go to my account right here, and you could see that I am sitting on 36. And the crazy thing is, I don't even do my own keystones anymore because I don't have time. You know, I'm looking for a new apartment, trying to do takeovers, trying to get out videos for 2 different channels. It's a lot of work, and I can't spend, 40 hours a month on freaking keystones, right? It doesn't make sense. It's time consuming, right? Too difficult or too time consuming, no in between. And this is to try to rectify that a little bit. So you can see that we have level 1 to 2 trial keystones are now going to be able to be auto fought. I assume this won't be fully consistent, but it is still a good thing. I mean, most level 1s and 2s after you get to a certain point can be done with your eyes closed. You just have to auto ult. So now with the auto fight, it's going to be a lot better. They're also adding a destruction feature. So if you don't have the time to maybe do something, you could just get rid of it. Bam, done. Maybe it's a level 5 mythic that you'll never be able to do. You can get rid of it to free space. Maybe it's a level 1 blue or something that you don't care for. So you could just immediately get rid of it. That's great. We're also getting an energy feature. One of the biggest issues as well is you cannot redo your fights. And clearly it's not intended, but you can still force quit out of the fights. But it's a little cheap because it's clearly not what you're supposed to be able to do. They're adding something to change that. So we are getting energy, and when the battle ends, if the energy is greater than 0, you can choose to abandon the rewards, leave the trial, and retain the trial keystone, or just claim the rewards. So it's kind of like a free regroup. You're like, hey, I went as far as I could. I missed a little bit. Let me redo it. That's something you're able to do, and this will be a finite amount, so you can't infinitely quit out, but it adds a little bit of flexibility to go in, experiment, and then come back with a better plan. I think that's a good change. And then we also have chest settlement animation changes, added recommended hero displays for certain tags, increase the acquisition methods for keystones. They can now be obtained from AMR, gear dungeons, and the dungeon shop, which is huge. These are some areas that you no longer want to farm because of the keystones being in gear raids, so that's a good change. Replace the gold reward for enhancing any gear and weekly quests with a random keystone reward, which is also really good because, I mean, who needs gold after a certain point? Change the acquisition method for some trial keystones to obtaining trial keystone chests and stuff like that. Trial keystone chests will be stored in storage after being obtained to avoid occupying storage space. So you're going to be able to hold onto it and it won't take up your space, which is great. Next, we get to some gear changes. Cataclysm is getting buffed. Instead of being, upon landing a crit hit, the hero's damage is plus 10% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. It's instead going to last for 8 seconds, which is huge. That's going to increase viability in a lot of areas where the monsters are kind of spaced out. Next, we get to optimized activation logic of Invig and Wings of Grace. After optimization, they'll prioritize granting attack increase to non-sanctity units. So it won't give it to Anora, basically, units that can't get the buff. Next, we're getting runic augmentation rules for artifacts. They can now yield attributes of the same type as current runic attribute. This is something that's a little bit of an issue currently, which I'm really glad they're fixing. It's really dumb. So here, let me go over to my account. We can see that we have a Valara here, right? Valara, we can augment her artifact. I cannot speak today. We can augment the artifact, right? And it'll give you one of these. But there's a current bug, or at least thing that shouldn't be in the game, where, as you can see, I have attack bonus. Attack bonus is exactly what I want of Valara. She scales with it very well. So I'm going to want more attack bonus. So if I get more of these red things, I can put them in and I can augment. But currently, you cannot get the same thing. So I will never, ever be able to get another attack bonus until I take something I don't want, like crit damage, rage regen, anything else I have to take before I can even get attack bonus. So that's being changed, which is great. That has been kind of annoying. And then we're also getting a couple things, like gear dungeons no longer going to consume stamina. They're reimbursing the stamina consumed during this period's gear dungeon to those who have already participated, which is good. So if you did your gear dungeon before the update, when this does inevitably come out on global, you'll get it refunded. United Front now offers new stages where you can challenge bosses. We're getting hero skins, which has been added diamond rewards for reading the stories. After unlocking the skin and the corresponding hero, reading the skin story will reward diamond. A little bit of extra lore, blah, blah, blah. Withstand the Tide now includes additional peak talent levels up to 50. So we're going to get extra things to level. And we're going to get new waves up to 200, which I'm not the most excited, but maybe we'll get Init Soulstones, which is huge. So we'll be able to get a natural A3 Init, and I assume we'll get more Init Soulstones in the future. 6 new Trial of Nightmare stages have been added to the faction trials, so we're getting more just like Esso and Watcher. We're getting new refresh rules for certain shops. We're getting permanent Mystery Demon chests in the dungeon shop. Arena replay battle feature, so now you can play battle replays. So I think this is also for defenses. I think it's for both. Fixed text display errors, attack range change, Guild War battle recording playback rules, optimize the reward redistribution mechanic for Titanic Ruins of Drake's Chasm. After optimization, unclaimed can trigger reward redistribution emails, even when the guild is disbanded. Increase the redemption limit of auto fight chance in the Awakening shop, which is great, and added the gear recasting hammer and mystery demon chest for commanders to redeem, which is huge. So a lot of things coming that I'm excited for. Not only are we getting Elddr buff, which I don't think is enough, but you know, it's still a good change. We're not only getting Malrik optimizations, which are good, allowing you to redo it without having to quote unquote cheat. Whether you think it is or isn't, clearly not intended. Now there's an intended way to do it again. And then we're also getting auto fights for Keystones. I would love to see an instant clear for level 1s and 2s if you've already done like a 4 or something. But that's something that can come in the future. Cataclysm change is good. And then we are also getting some great things with the gear dungeon changes, the extra Tide stages for Init Soulstones, more Nightmare Trials, and more Mystery Demon chests. I think this is a good update. Not a lot that's bad with it. And I'm pretty excited. So I'm definitely looking forward to some of these changes. Let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. And that's it for me. Destined signing out.